the Penn State Nittany Lions in Beaver Stadium, hosting SMU, noon Eastern, TNT. Again, Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, I'll be all for that. This is going to be a cold game. All right, we've gone through all these college football playoff matchups now. This is our last one in round one. This is the one game where you say, okay, if I'm Penn State, I'm glad we're at the crib. So we got a team coming from Dallas, Texas to come and play us. Like Tennessee going to Ohio State, yeah, it'll be cold. It also gets cold in Knoxville, Tennessee, just so we're on the same page. There will be a very real advantage for Penn State given the conditions in this one. Noon Eastern, you're like, golly, another noon kick for us. If I'm a Penn State fan, it is what it is, ball up top. If SMU can find a way to get this done, think about what SMU can then pitch going forward on the recruiting trail. You were G5 a year ago. Now you're in the ACC, and you just beat one of the best teams in the Big Ten in your college football playoff debut. Like, I think the juice that Rhett Lashley will be working with, we know they got NIL out there. SMU, I think, in a lot of ways, you hear the words sleeping giant thrown around kind of casually in college football. Like, if SMU is able to beat Penn State, everyone's on red alert of who SMU is and what they're capable of going forward here. Now, for Penn State, this is their chance under James Franklin to rewrite what's been said about them for a long time. And you kind of sense a trend here if you've watched the entire live show. A lot of optics, a lot of rebranding, rewriting narratives. But like for Penn State, I think it's 100% true. Because what has been said about James Franklin? He can't win the big game. Say what you want about SMU and say what you want about the spread with it being 8.5 favoring the Nittany Lions. This is a big game. This is, I think, as big a game as James Franklin's had being the head coach at Penn State. So you can get that monkey off your back in round one. I think there's some exhale. I think there's some renewed juice. And I think there's some momentum, obviously, to carry you forward in a game where you'd play then a true G5 team in Boise State. And who's to say Penn State doesn't go on a run? Now, for that to happen, you got to stop the SMU offense. And if you have not yet watched Kevin Jennings and Brashard Smith play football, I would encourage you to do so. Quarterback for SMU, running back for SMU, they're special, man. They are electric as it gets when it comes to two dudes making plays in the backfield. The matchup I cannot wait to watch is that backfield versus Abdul Carter, who is just an absolute hunter at linebacker for Penn State, rocking number 11, which y'all know they don't give out number 11. You get to wear the sticks at linebacker, you're different. So the thing that I'm curious now, what's that chess game like between Tom Allen and what Rhett Lashley does offensively? Because if I'm the Penn State defense, I'm like, I don't want Abdul Carter reacting to Kevin Jennings and Brashard Smith. It's going to be so beautiful. It's choking me up. I don't want them being reactive. I want him being proactive. Like, I want that dude who can absolutely hunt to go get after him, and I want it to be a situation where we're giving him green light, go get after him, force the issue, because as much as I love SMU and what they've done this year, like, there's only one Abdul Carter that exists in college football, and he plays for Penn State. And he can truly wreck the game for you if he's able to get you off script. Now, if he is in a sense where he has to be reactive, in a sense where they're calling a lot of, hey, Abdul Carter, you just spy Kevin Jennings and make sure you don't allow the big plays, or, we kind of try and cast a wide net, if you will, and play a very conservative brand of defense, which I'd be surprised if that happened. But if it did, well, SMU then has a chance, I think, to kind of dictate terms a little bit. Because what we know about Rhett Lashley, they're going to go up tempo. They're going to try and get the ball in the perimeter, let their guys work in space, and find their matchups. We're going to talk about the talent gap in this game. It favors Penn State, surprise, surprise, with what they are as an overall just roster. But, like, make no mistake about it, you don't have to have superior roster talent to win a college football playoff game. You got to have a couple matchups you like, you exploit via scheme or whatever have you. You got to find a way to juice those matchups, and you can get it done. So the matchup for me, again, is Kevin Jennings and trying to get his playmakers in space with Brashard Smith out there on the perimeter. Is if that happens now, we could find ourselves in a spot where you ask Penn State to play the same brand of football they played to keep it close with Oregon. Now, obviously, Penn State lost that football game in the Big Ten title game, but they still scored 37. Like, you told me going into the Big Ten title game that Penn State scored 37. I say, oh, okay, well, then I guess Penn State is your Big Ten champion. My point being, like, I don't think that's a way that Penn State is going to be able to consistently live. Like, one thing I'll also say is Penn State, we know offensively they like to be a little bit quirky, a little bit unorthodox, a little bit smoke and mirrors with what they draw up, and Tyler Warren's a big part of that. You know who also was a big part of that was Bo Pula. Bo Pula, for those of y'all that don't know, backup quarterback at Penn State, most recently hit the portal. And by nature of the portal calendar in the college football playoff, he's like, hey, I got to make a decision. I don't want to do this. I would love to play in a college football playoff game, but I'd also love to have a full year as a starter somewhere else, so I got to jump. No Bo Pula, I think, is a very, very massive storyline in this game for Colt Tanecki and for Penn State because of how they utilize him in the quarterback run game and because of how they utilize him in the, I don't want to say gimmicks, but like gadget plays. Like there's a lot of trick plays in the Penn State playbook that involve number 9, whether it be a double pass with him to Aller, whether it's him catching the football. Like they would use him as an offensive weapon. Make no mistake about it. So going back to my point here, you would like to find yourself in a situation, if you're Penn State, to where you can just bring the juice early, enforce your will on SMU, and make it a situation where, hey, Drew Aller's having a day, our defense having a day. We separate so much against SMU early to where we can just run the football, let Katron Allen eat, let Nick Singleton eat, go for over 200 yards again, and we'll get out of here with a win and feel good about ourselves going in against Boise State in the next round. Now, does it happen that way? Again, we'll see what Kevin Jennings and Brashard Smith have to say about it. But when it comes to my prediction on this game, man, there is a talent gap there. There is. Now, Drew Aller is the talent gap, I think, maximizer. If he can be great throwing the ball downfield, if he can be the version of Ben Roethlisberger that he was these last couple of weeks, especially in the Big Ten title game, Penn State's going to be in good shape. The prize pick square I love, Drew Aller, 15.5 rush yards. We'll take the more there. I think it needs to be that for Penn State to be successful in this football game. As close as the Clemson game was, I mean, SMU had every chance to win that game at the end. I mean, it took a 56-yard field goal for them to lose the ACC title game. It was a valiant effort in every single respect. I cannot unsee the start of that football game. And what happened on the start of that football game is Penn State, in the trenches, has a chance to duplicate Clemson's dominance in the trenches of what they did early against SMU. I think SMU's a good football team. Do not hear me minimize them in the slightest, but I do think that Penn State, the trenches, the quarterback play, the overall desperation I think they're going to have here in a home playoff game with James Franklin and company, I'll take Penn State to get it done in what you would hope is a whiteout condition from a fan perspective, with everybody having that whiteout environment, and then also maybe a little bit of a dusting potentially out there in Happy Valley. So that's massive for Penn State because in some ways, like I just said, there's the exhale. Okay, first one down. We're in this thing. Let's go on a run now. I think it takes the first domino to fall a little bit for some belief and for some momentum. And if SMU is able to give that to Penn State, look out for James Franklin and the Nittany Lions. It'll be a fun one. So we'll take Penn State to win. I'm not going to take them to cover because this game just feels far too sneaky to me. We'll take Penn State to win.